all right. Here we are another day in the neighborhood, out in the woods, and you can see we've got our props up. Taylor Yates is with us. Andrew Johnson's with us, our boy. And we're just going to kind of chat and chit-chat. I'm going to start off by talking about this nice book that Taylor has put together for us. A lot of us have questions about where specific isolates come from, where crosses come from, and what their lineage is. And some of us have been around long enough to truly appreciate the fact that you've put these things together. And just want to say thank you, my friend.
Thank you, man. I appreciate the kind words. Really, really. I did it for the community at first. I really did. There's not anything out there. That's why, like you, Andrew mentioned that typed out list that was circling around all the groups. I did that because there's nothing out there. There was no information. Everyone was just like, where is this from? Who did this? And people didn't. They cared about what they looked like and what the lineage was, but no one really cared enough to write it down. That's what I felt like, at least. So I took it upon myself just to get something out there, try my best. And that's where this went from,
Yeah.
Andrew's the only one without a copy. We're going to have to remedy that.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, I think I still have, like your typed out one, I still have that copy and pasted into my notes on my iPhone for when people would ask, I'd be like, here's what I got.
They're still in the groups, like in the group Spore Swaps, it's in the files section all the time. And when someone asks me, or, if they mention that they don't want to buy it, or they say, I always refer to them to the list, because it is the information. It's not as updated as the book is, and even the book's still not updated, up to date. But the list, it's still out there, just in case. There's over 150 in the original list, so it's still a solid little resource.
Yeah, I noticed that Wombat pinned it in his group as well.
Yeah, Dave's been real nice about it, man. He's helped me a lot with pictures and all the information. Dave's been real nice to me about
awesome.
it. Yeah. Good. I've had a lot of good help from some good names and some good people. So I've really had this book right here has really helped me out a lot. I'm very thankful for it.
Heck yeah. Andrew, man, why don't you go ahead and lead the question, since you haven't got to, and you're the man. So
well, about how long did it take you to get it to its current state when you published the book? Because it seems like even finding one family is hard.
It's tough, that I did a lot of Facebook group searches, like for the original list, that typed out list that's circling in the groups. That probably took me let's say about 2 months, something like that. It took me about 2 months, and I did that about 2.5-ish years ago, something like that. And I'm going to tell you guys a little something. I never planned on publishing this. I never planned on making an actual book. The reason I did that is because I seen someone on Reddit actually take that list and take a bunch of varieties out and add in a bunch from their friends, stuff that I've never heard of. And they claim that list as their own. So I messaged him and I said, hey man, no, like I wasn't upset, but like, hey, I made the list, and it didn't sit right with me that he claimed it as his own. And he told me, like, hey man, I found the list online. Your name's not attached to it. As far as I know, that list is mine. And that rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like that at all. So I went and I put a copyright on it first thing. And then I was like, you know what? I have a copyright on it. I might as well publish it into a physical book with pictures, because that's the number one complaint that people had, was the pictures. People wanted pictures to see what they looked like, especially new growers. They wanted to see the spores and, their LC, whatever. They wanted to see the pictures. So that took me the longest time. Yeah, pictures. Yeah. And I had to get permission from every single picture taker to use the pictures in their book. So that took me some time too. So I would say the book itself, probably another couple months, something like that. Probably 2-ish months for both of them. So all in all, I have about 4 months of my life into that book right there.
Wow, that's dedication, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. It was dedication. I had nothing really better to do. I felt like that was my calling at the time, so I did it. Someone had to do it.
That's a good motivation too. You know what I mean? There is some people that would go into it, monetarily motivated initially. You know what I mean? Like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, dude,
yeah,
I can
yeah,
capitalize on
definitely,
this.
definitely. Yeah, and
So it's
that wasn't my first instinct. But once I realized, people would like this, and I could, make a little money back, just to fund the hobby. And I never wanted to get rich off of it at all. I never wanted to make a bag off of it, whatever the kids say these days. Just enough to help out. That's what I wanted from it, and I believe I've got it. So I'm very happy with it.
definitely, dude. And any monetary gain you see at this point, we're kind of like, what is he going to do next? Let's see what the next project is.
Yeah,
You know,
that's true. And people ask me all the time too, is there a new edition? Is there going to be a better edition, more pictures, more updated? And I'm planning on it, but it takes time, man. And I'm kind of burnt out with you guys, to be honest, bro. Like before this, I have a list, and it's a few pages long, of just varieties that I see on Facebook and Instagram. Oh, that's a new variety. Let me write it down. Oh, who made that? I messaged them. I'd write the creator down so I could, reach back out to them and talk to them about it. But man, it's getting too much. I feel like there's too many crosses and isolations these days. People, they want their name, or I'm not sure exactly what it is. I think it's because they want their own isolation, their own variety, their own strain, whatever you want to call it. That's what I think it is. And there's no harm in that. But all I'm saying is it's going to turn into weed. I've had a couple conversations with people like this too. It's going to turn into weed, man. There's not going to be enough genetic diversity in the mushrooms to actually distinguish them, like I'm not sure if I'm correct on that. I'm not a huge science guy, but to me, a lot of these new isolations look the same,
Right.
They do.
Very much.
It's tough, bro. Especially now, we're in like the beginning stages of the mushroom. I don't know what to call it, the legal
homogenizing.
yeah, exactly, something like that. It's like where we're like where the weed game was about 20 years ago, something like that. That's how I feel it is. And pretty soon, like the genetic diversity of the weed seed, you could say you're buying a Panama Red Landrace strain from someone online, but Lord knows where it came from. It just could be someone's accidental mismatch that they just labeled Panama Red. It's tough, man. It's tough. So I did try to keep it legit. I don't want to add every single new isolation, new variety into the list because it might not stick,
Yeah,
Right.
and there's so many people that don't really understand how much goes into stabilizing a strain or cultivar. Like, you don't clone something once and you have something new. That's not how any of that works.
Yep, I definitely agree to that. And I've had people reach out to me, say, "Hey, man, I just released this awesome isolation. Here's some pictures. Would you add it to your next edition?" And I'm like, "Man, that looks like another albino penis envy strain to me. Like, how many times
Right.
did you clone it? Did you go from spore, or did you just clone the whole time?" Because that's another big thing. You got to go from spore for it to be an actual generation. A lot of people, especially newer guys, don't realize that they can just clone the fruits or make an LC out of it, and then they think that's a whole new generation. But I've come to learn in my 3-4 years in the hobby that that's not how it works, and a lot of people don't realize that. It's tough, man. It's tough, but I got a lot of love for everybody in the hobby. No hate to anybody, especially if anybody's going to be watching this and they've hit me up and asked me. I'm not, talking about anyone in particular. I'm just saying I'm trying to keep it legit. A lot of people put a lot of time and effort into their isolations, and I would rather have those solidified into the book rather than someone who's just on a whim, 3 months in the hobby, made their first isolation, boom, that's it. Something like
Right. No, I'm a 3-month expert, don't you know?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think it's
few.
pretty popular opinion, really, because there's just so many places to learn. There's so many opinions on what is correct. In some places, you'll go and they'll say there's only this way to do it, and there's other places that are like, hey, you can pretty much do it any which way you like. Here's a little bit of help. And so you get
Those
all
are the
these
good
different
places.
little microcosms of opinions and facts. Well, it's you have to sift through the bullshit in order to figure out what's real. And
Yep,
I think you've
exactly.
had a fair amount of doing that with your book here and dealing with folks in their different little sections.
Yeah, I've tried because there is a lot of solid people in the hobby. A whole lot more than I can count on all of my extremities, and those people need more recognition, in my opinion.
Definitely.
Because we're the ground level, in my opinion, of legalized mushrooms. It's really the ground level. It feels like some people, like maybe Dave Wombat could be the next Ed Rosenthal. You never know.
Yeah.
You just never know, man.
Yeah, in fact, I think he just went to work for Faith Zetterberg. I don't know what they're doing, if it's a collaboration or whatnot.
Yeah.
But she's actually local to me as well.
Oh, awesome, man. I've done nothing about Faith, but I know she's got some. From what I know of her Facebook posts and her, Kratom posts, she seems like a solid person.
Yeah, I think she's out there to help people heal.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of, like tutorials, how tos. So I honestly don't know how her myco game is, other than she's doing pretty well with the business side of it.
Yeah.
So glad to see that Dave's in it too, because that'll definitely give her skin in the game there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see where it all goes, especially in places like Colorado and Oregon and Washington. And I'm in the state of New Mexico, so we're going to be a little bit behind, but we're pretty, liberal in the sense. So you never know, man. You just never know. I'm going to try to get into the ground level in my state too. We'll see. Fingers crossed.
Now, do you have any kind of foraging down there? I mean, most of us think of that area as being very dry. So
dry. Our humidity is about 20% all the time. I'm not a huge forager myself, and that's probably because it's so dry. I've never been grown up going out foraging and stuff like that. But we have a few. I actually went to the mountains yesterday. I live about 20 miles away from Mount Taylor, in New Mexico. It's a nice, beautiful mountain, and I found a couple polypores on some wood and a couple little brown mushrooms, but that's about it. I got a couple friends who's found some Amanita muscaria up on that mountain. So that's my goal, is to find one of the big, beautiful red mushrooms up on that mountain. That is my absolute foraging goal. And I'm not going to stop until I do. So every time it rains, I try to head up to the mountain when I can. But there's not a huge foraging scene, at least not where I'm from. If you go up northern in the state, Taos, about that area, there's better foraging for sure.
Yeah, I bet you have matsutake probably somewhere. They like sandy soil and trees.
Yeah.
So.
You guys have so many more pieces out there.
Yeah, we do. That's one thing. That's for dang sure.
I'm in Georgia, man.
Also, I've been to Georgia a time or two in my life. I like Georgia there. Fireflies, and it's
I'm right outside Atlanta.
Oh, cool. I used to have an uncle and an aunt who were at Fort Leaven. Was it Leaven? I'm not sure. I shouldn't say it because I'll probably be wrong. But they used to be correctional officers up in some big prison in Georgia. So I visited a couple times.
Heck yeah.
Do you like it, lad? Do you like Georgia? Is it a cool little state?
It's awesome. We have a lot of biodiversity as far as mushrooms. I'm a third generation forager. So that's cool. My great grandparents foraged to survive during the Great Depression.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You can't get more real than that.
Yeah, dudes. We have an amazing diversity here in Georgia. But at the same time, like right now we have what's called wet bulb heat. And it's technically like 95 outside because it's so humid, it feels like it's 108.
Yeah.
Sweating.
So my condolences to you, man. I hate the humidity.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably because I grew up so dry, but everywhere I go that's humid, I'm dripping sweat.
Yeah, it's bad. It starts burning your eyes and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's awesome for mushrooms. We get a lot of
that's true. Yeah, take the good as well you can, right? Take the good while you can.
So, Taylor, why don't you tell us a little bit about your upbringing? Are you from the city, country life, or what kind of experience do you have there?
I was born and raised in a town of about 15,000. and I lived there till I was about 17. I moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I went to the University of New Mexico for about 3 years. I graduated when I was 21. And after that, I graduated in political science and philosophy. I double majored there, which was a lot of people question that decision, but that's what I thought I was good at. And the day I graduated, the day after, my mom was cooking me breakfast, and she told me that she was diagnosed with breast cancer. So after that, I made the decision to come home because they have a family business. So I made the decision to come home and help out with the family business. And I did that for, currently I'm still here. I'm in the business right now. It's a Native American art trading post. Been in my family since 1984. And pretty much that's it, man. I was hanging out, helping out. My mom is cancer free now. So thank goodness I did my job.
Congratulations.
And thank you. She's a warrior, dude. She really did it. And now for the past, let's say 6-ish months, me and my dad have been working on starting a dispensary because New Mexico just legalized weed in April of last year. So we said, hey, why not? We have a well on the property. My dad's been growing weed for 40 years. He knows how to do it. We have our property is right on Route 66 in a small town, but it's still right on Route 66. So we decided to go for it, and that's where I kind of am right now. That's a short little biography of me. I hope that sufficed.
Excuse me.
Definitely gives us lots more to talk about there too. That's
been
good. I didn't realize they just went legal there, and you can't
April
get any better than getting in at the beginning. So
almost the beginning. In my town, there's already 3 dispensaries, and we only got 20,000 people here. But everybody in New Mexico loves weed, man. It's like a cultural thing, I swear. I'm sure it is. Yeah, I'm sure it's everywhere, but I feel it's extra here for some reason. I don't know, man. It's the whole world. You're right. I probably shouldn't think of it that way. But I feel like
a real good place to grow, though. I mean, you got to have lots of sun.
Yeah, we got lots of sun, very little rain, but we have a well, so that makes up for it. And yeah, it's good dry weather. The plants like it. Every year we do a pretty good harvest every year. So we decided go for it. Might as well. Worst comes to worst, we renovated the building and we could do something else, something like that. Who knows? But I think we'll be okay. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
You thinking of doing any?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I was gonna say. Are you thinking about doing any seed releases?
Oh man, maybe. I actually manage in a Facebook group called Uncle Roy's Dink Seed Bank. And we got probably 12,000 people in that group, man. It blew up last year. And we have, right behind me, actually, you could see it. That's called the hippie closet. And we keep all of our seeds in there. And we probably have, 1,000-ish seeds, something like that. So every now and then on that seed bank, we release some seeds, but they're not necessarily our genetics. Some of them are, but they're regs, we're trying. I have a tent at my house right now. We're trying to get into fem seeds, with the colloidal silver or whatever they call it. I'm trying. Yeah. It's my first run with it. So if that goes good, maybe we'll get into the seed business a little bit. You never know. But it's my first time with the fem seeds because fem seeds are where it's at. A lot of people don't want like the guesswork and the checking the plants for regs. So fem seeds are where it's at. We're going to be trying for it. We'll see.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
It's tough.
Matt, did you have something to ask?
Yeah, I was going to ask, what your history is with being Native. Like, so what group are you from? Do you know?
I'm technically not Native American myself. Well, I did the DNA testing. I got about 12% or whatever the heck they say. Right. But I do not claim Native American whatsoever. My grandpa, when he was from Texas, moved to Albuquerque when he was, 20s, 30s, something like that. He bought another trading post in Old Town Albuquerque, and that's where he got into some legal trouble there. Long story short, blah, blah, blah. He found this place that we're right now in small towns called Grants, New Mexico. That's where I'm from right now, Grants, New Mexico. Okay. He found this place in 84, And that's what he knew, was Native American jewelry, silversmiths. He had a lot of connections, stuff like that. So that's what he decided to do. So that's what we do. We have, we have pretty good relationships with a lot of Native American artists in our area. So that, stick with what you're good at. My parents have been doing it for 40 years. My dad all his life, So that's what he knows. Stick with what you know.
And we took a
Definitely.
couple trips across the U.S. and actually both of them went through that area through 66. It would be funny. I wonder
Awesome.
if we didn't stop in there years and years ago, because
It's
when I was a
possible.
kid, we went through, and those
Wow.
things they do tend to stick around, especially where there's
Mhm.
artists
Yeah.
to showcase.
Yeah. Nowadays it's kind of more of a dying art, sadly. There's still places in Old Town and Gallup, New Mexico. They still, they still do their thing, but compared to the 90s, it's shrunk,
Yeah.
tremendously.
I
The
think it's the
whole
demographic of people that are buying things, and I think the majority
Yeah.
of people buying things, they don't like antique and old stuff anymore. I
Yeah.
have the same issue with inheriting stuff. Like my dad's got a bunch of stuff he got from his grandparents, and
Hmm.
he cannot find anyone in our family who wants it. And it's like,
Yeah.
dang, man, like we're all going to lose all this stuff because we're so tied up in our modern stuff. We can't
Yeah.
accept any of this old
I
junk.
understand. I understand, and it's kind of sad too, right? Because a lot of it's history. Some of it's family history. Some of it's history from. Yeah, it's a little bit sad. I see it all the time, but it is what it is. Times are changing. Needs are changing. The economy, especially within the last whatever 5-10 years, people
Yeah.
don't buy what they don't need. Stuff like that. So, especially we're in like a luxury kind of business. So it's
Right.
tough for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's hard to
It's
convince
tough.
them that it's necessary medicine. It's
Yeah.
always an experiment until it becomes totally needed in their life. Once they figure out
Yeah.
how good it is, they're like, oh,
Yeah.
everyone should have this medicine.
Yep. Or like when something mainstream comes on, like my dad said when I forgot the movie. It's a Disney movie right off the top of my head. When it's a Native American Disney movie, I forget what it's called.
Let's see,
Oh,
there's Pocahontas.
Pocahontas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that when Pocahontas came out, apparently the Native American art business shot up. And it's because it
Oh
was
yeah.
mainstream. Yeah,
Well, I think
Kachinas.
they just redid that, so maybe
Yeah,
that'll bring on up. Of
you
course,
never know, man.
they're
They're redoing all
pumping
those
out
movies, huh?
redos.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
redoing all those movies. Some of them are good, some of them, yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'll probably watch it. I like Disney, so might as well give it a
Yeah, I
try.
think you get roped into that when you have kids or you're around
Yeah,
kids a lot, and then you just got to
yeah,
watch what they want to watch.
yeah. No kids for me, thank goodness. Knock on wood right
Same
now.
here.
Yeah,
Three
knock on
bachelors
wood.
here, right? You got no kids either,
Okay.
eh, Andrew?
No, I don't either, but I have a niece, so I've seen every episode of Bluey. Every
Yeah,
single.
that's okay.
Don't even know what it is.
Yeah, that'll happen. I've heard of it, but I've never watched an episode.
Yeah,
Knock
I'm
on
It's a,
wood.
embarrassed to talk about what child shows I would know. I was even
Some of them are good though,
SpongeBob.
Yeah, I don't mind a lot of child shows actually.
dude, Transformers from the 80s.
Yeah, those are. I would love to show my kids those ones.
Yeah, man.
Right?
Definitely,
Autobots, let's
definitely.
roll.
Roll out.
Roll out.
Sweet.
Yeah, see? I'm out.
There it is.
It's been a while, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a
Right.
while. No harm, no foul. No harm, no foul.
Call the G.I. Joes on that one. They'll tell us.
Mhm.
Knowledge is power.
They'll
Right?
drag you out right away.
Oh goodness.
Well, what about medicine for yourself? Have you found a lot of peace through this hobby, or through the medicine that you get out of it, or what do
Let
you
me
have on that?
Yeah, I'll give you a little backstory on that stuff too. Like most people, I tried my mushrooms first time in high school, and man, I loved it. I seriously, it's like euphoria. It's complete. It was beautiful every time. I only tried it a few times in high school, but man, it was awesome. It just made everything happy. You felt like you could talk to anybody, and it was awesome. And then I got into a long-term relationship with a girl when in college who thought that hallucinogens and all those different kinds of drugs were terrible, just terrible. She thought that LSD made your brain bleed, and she was religious also. So that,
Right.
anyway, as soon as we broke up in like a year before I graduated college, I kind of got into mushrooms because I was like, man, I want to, to try it again. I got into wanting to grow them. So what I did was I bought a few bags of sterilized grain and a bag of spore syringes from Spore Works, the grab bag, whatever they call it. And I shot them all up. I shot those spore syringes into the grain bags, and I bought 5 grain bags. One of them actually did work. So I did no contamination. That was my first time back in like 2019. So I put it to sub. I got a little handful of mushrooms off of that, and I was hooked ever since that one little tub. It was Treasure Coast. I'll never forget. Treasure Coast has a special place in my heart. So after that, I got in, big, and I would, take them as medicine and take them as both recreation and medicine, honestly, for about a solid year, once a weekish, once every couple of weeks, something like that. And then it just got to a point where every time I took even a microdose, it just made me feel bad, like
Hmm.
it made me think about all the bad in the world and all the bad that I've done and all the bad that could be, like every time. So I took a big break for about 2 years, and I started up a little bit again about 6 months ago, just a little bit, and it's still the same. It's still, I don't. It's just different for me now. I don't know what happened. Probably something in my mental chemistry, or
Right.
in my something, but something happened. It's just not the same for me anymore. So I try to limit it. That's the best way I could put it. I try to limit my medicine. I don't know. I don't know what happened. It's awful weird, man. I've talked to a lot of different people, and no one has had the same kind of
See, that's
experiences
pretty
as
interesting
me.
because I
Yeah,
actually just got over that experience myself. Like
really.
I had some really bad experiences. Like I don't know if it was something I set in place, set in motion, but
Uh-huh.
one time I took some that I had grown and I had found out I was allergic to wheat. Well, that's all I had
Oh
used to grow
wow.
was wheat. And in
Uh-huh.
fact, that same day I had cooked wheat in the house. So like the house was full of it. Anyway, so I'm sitting there tripping and like it feels like my throat's swelling, like I can't breathe. Like,
Yeesh.
but then I could tell because I've done mushrooms a lot my whole life that I was tripping. There was something wrong, and
Yeah.
like I could get a full breath, so like I couldn't tell. Anyhow, that stuck with me. Like I tried a couple more times, and the next time I took like almost a quarter ounce. Like I went balls to the walls to
Wow.
try and
Yeah.
write some shit, and I mean
Yeah,
I
just to
was
fix it.
I was a minute away from calling the ambulance, and then they took
Oh
over.
man.
And I actually had a real like the only experience I've ever had that I would call a bad trip. Uh, it was actually probably the best trip I ever had, followed by the bad part. Like I
Wow.
didn't know what to even do. I literally just sat there laughing because like that's all I could think of. Like I feel
Yeah.
so good. Like what do I even say? There aren't words for this shit. I'm just gonna laugh, for
Wow.
2 hours straight. But I decided to try and sleep it off. And you
Okay.
can't do that on big doses. They last at least
No.
like 6 hours. You need
Yeah,
to
it's
you need to
true.
prepare for that. And
Yeah.
I just had a really bad experience where I dove into darkness in my own head, and where
Oof.
I've gone 3 years now without it, and
Without
finally,
dosing, 3 years without dosing
yeah, without
altogether.
anything, microdosing,
Wow.
same. Well, I'll say this: I did the same as you, where like
Uh-huh.
I would try, and I just feel like crap.
Yeah,
Like
just
my body would
okay.
hurt, everything
That's
that already
cool.
hurt. I just noticed the things that I was overlooking, I think.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
fast forward to about 3 weeks ago, a buddy of mine sent me some really good apes, and I went out and did about another eighth of them. And boy, I flew high, but it was all cerebral. Like I just went
Okay.
outside and laid in the field and stared at the stars, and like I had many epiphanies, but the things that stuck were things that I wanted to stick. Like I wanted to reduce my cannabis usage. I wanted to get
Hmm.
in shape, and I want to to actually be positive going forward. Like I've always had
Yes.
issues with that. And
I,
I'll tell
I
you,
can
man, like
understand.
I'm on the warpath now. I feel great. I
Good,
think
man. That gives
there
me
is
a little
promise.
bit of hope. Yeah. A lot of people say mushrooms, they give you what you need, not what you want. And I
Right.
kind of believe that. Yeah, I kind of believe that because
I
they're
do
a
too.
different kind. Yeah, they're a different kind of medicine. It's a different kind of drug. They're just different, Mushrooms are. I
Yes.
understand why a lot of people, especially where they're native in Mexico and stuff, they consider them holy because they really are something else. You can't take them with the intent of just getting fucked up. You can, but it's not
Right.
right. It's just not right, in my opinion. I tell all my friends that. I try to tell everybody that you need, like, I don't know, some sort of like affirmation or some sort of
Yeah.
goal, or you need
Plan.
something, Yeah, you need something in order to get what you need out of them. So,
Yeah.
well, it's definitely different. But that story, man, that gives me some, yeah, that makes me feel good about it, man. That definitely does. So thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
The way I kind of feel about it, when you're going through a pattern in your life where you are reducing or something like that, maybe you have all your questions answered for then, and you don't have
Yeah,
any to ask right now.
yeah,
You know,
that's I've also thought that too. Like maybe they did their job for me and they're just, making me think like, hey, there's a bunch of bad in the world. If you could do something to make it better, do it. But I kind of just stopped taking them all together. I still grow every day. I check on my mushrooms every day, a gar work almost every day, but I just don't take them anymore. I just stock them up, I guess. I don't know. Something
yeah,
like that. Yeah, I just sit there and grow. That's my hobby. It's like the only hobby I got now, and it's really helped me a lot. So very thankful for the mushrooms in more ways than one. I love them very
definitely.
much. How long have you guys been in the hobby, if you don't mind me asking?
Whew. It depends on how you classify it because I've been looking at mushrooms in the wild for over 10 years.
Yeah, you said you were a third. Yeah, I remember that forager. How about
But
like
as far
yeah, cultivator? How about that?
I mainly do gourmets.
Oh, okay.
Um, and I'm actually, if you look at my heading, I'm trying to study growing ectomycorrhizal mushrooms as well, the
Okay.
symbiotic ones with trees and other plants.
Oh, okay. Like amanitas and
Hmm.
okay.
But
Awesome. Awesome.
I'm focusing mainly on Lactarius, Lactiflus, and all the
Cool.
chanterelle families.
Awesome, man. That's
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, that's cool. I'm not much of a gourmet dude. I've grown lion's mane once. I've grown oysters twice, and that's about it. I'm more of an actives guy, I guess you could say.
that's fair, and I respect even the active work. I really respect because my work is about finding the right phenotypes that you can cultivate. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's going to be a
Hmm.
one in a million shot. So
Yeah.
seeing how quickly in the active community people can diversify that, it gives me hope that this is going to be possible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hard work you're going to do, man. I see people all the time like I need a Amanita LC or something like that. If there's some sort of tech or easy way to cultivate Amanitas, people would flip over that. Not even
Right.
maybe just Amanitas, just other like morels and
Mhm.
chanterelles and stuff like that. If there's an easier way
Right.
to cultivate that, that's a huge market for the gourmet side,
Definitely
not even
not an
just for the
easy
active.
thing, but they are
Yeah,
doing them. Like,
yeah,
it's funny because you ever see those posts where people are talking about mushroom seeds,
yeah. I
Yeah.
and
do.
we
I
all
need some
laugh at them,
mushroom
right?
seeds.
Well,
Yeah,
you know what's
well,
funny is
everyone
a lot of
started.
those actually do work. And the way that they work, which I figured out, and you should try this, Andrew. I haven't done it myself, but I've actually read some research papers on some of these. Now, I'm not saying you can get all of these like a morel. That ain't going to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah,
But what you do is you get these seeds. Now, you would think they're inoculated with the spore, but they're not. They're actually from a plant that was infected with that mycelium that was hybridized with it. And then
Oh,
they take the
hmm,
spores and they cover the seeds. So, what you
wow.
do is you grow these seeds and they
Hmm.
start your initial symbiotic patch because they found grasses that work in place of trees for that symbiosis. And so you grow this grass
Wow.
in your substrate. The mycelium grows there. You transplant that substrate and that grass into an area that you know has the right trees that you want to inoculate. Now, where they actually came up with this shit was truffles. That's how they originally started seeding white
That makes
truffles.
sense.
And it's not going to work everywhere. That's the other thing, is they actually haven't figured it all the way out. So they know it works, but like out of the 23 places that they had tried to inoculate these truffles, 6 worked. And they all had exactly the same conditions according to these people, but they're in different places in the world. So like there's the science is still iffy, but that stuff is still a potential, you know. And even chanterelles, the local to me, Oregon State University has had 2 successful trials now where they have gone from having just a tree in a pot to having a tree in a pot with a mushroom growing. And one of the chanterelles was actually in an early stage tree that was still in a pot. Usually, even out in the wild, it takes many years for these things to establish in fruit. So whatever they've done and whatever they're figuring out, they're making some progress.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of research where they're putting them with bonsai trees as well. So they'll just have like a long interconnected kind of like trough with a bunch of bonsais, and then all the space between them they're trying to fill with chanterelles.
Oh yeah, and I've seen where you can buy inoculated trees. So you
That's
can buy
fascinating.
trees that the soil is inoculated, already hybridized with the mycorrhiza, and you just plant the tree, and then you got truffles.
Did y'all hear about that research into death caps?
No.
Apparently, originally, death caps are not native to our country whatsoever. But some dude bought a shrub in Europe, brought it to America, and it had mycelium on the roots of the shrub. Planted it, and they're so adaptive that they literally just started growing here.
Wow.
And in the past 5 years, they've jumped to 3 new host trees.
Wow. And was that originally on the East Coast that it seeded? Because I know we have them here on the West Coast.
I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure exactly where it was originally seeded. The only information I saw was it said like European merchant of some kind brought it over here on the boat.
Those damn Europeans.
Wow. Yeah. Talk about an accident, huh?
Yeah, man. It's wild.
That is wild. You never know. Stuff like that happens a lot, though, you know, with animals and like the lionfish stuff. It happens. It definitely happens.
Yeah. I
We got
remember in the
snakehead.
90s, it was a snakehead fish. Everybody
We've
was
got 'em
worried.
here.
Yeah, and now it's just
I've
like,
heard of them.
they're just a sport fish. Like, it's not really that big of a deal.
Wow. Yeah, it's crazy that
They're kind of tasty.
Yeah, it's crazy the adaptability of a lot of these species and creatures. It's definitely interesting.
Oh, especially fungus. I mean, if you believe what they tell us, fungus has been around longer than any other living organism on Earth, and realistically, we couldn't be here without fungus. We couldn't.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Can you imagine things not breaking down? We
No.
think that happens normally. Like, we think stuff just melts away. No, decomposition is caused by mycelium, molds, and bacteria, all kinds of shit. Like,
yeah.
What
do they say?
It'd be a weird world.
Matter cannot be created nor destroyed. You know, it has to go somewhere. It has something has to take care of it. Yeah, fungus it's amazing. It's amazing. I agree. I've always been fascinated with fungus. I think we all have, right? Everyone in the hobby.
Right. Well, that's the thing, you know, it's such a young science, you know, we all still call it a hobby and because we're not scientists. But the reality is, you know, we're putting in the work, we're putting in the data. We just don't all do it in one place, you know. Some of us, like Andrew, are a little smarter, and you might as well be Taylor. I just kind of dabble, you know. I like to sound smart.
I dabble, dude. That's me. I'm the dabbler. You make some of the most beautiful plates, bro. I would not call you a dabbler.
Well, that's my only artistic outlet. Like, now, see, Andrew, he can actually do some painting and stuff. But like me, dude, you put me down to try and draw anything, to try and make it look like I thought it would. Hell, I'm lucky I can make a straight corner when I'm doing carpentry work, and I work carpentry for like 15, 20 years.
Oh, wow.
You know?
That's cool.
But you know, that kind of stuff, I like it because it tends to my OCD nature. You know, I'm kind of obsessive on figuring things out, and so it's all just timing. You know, same with like the method that I pour. A lot of people use the water baths or ways to keep their agar cool or keep it at a set temperature. I've never actually done that. I bought a water bath once. Apparently, I bought the wrong one. Gave it away. I just pull out my 15 to 20 quarts and I let them cool it at room temperature, and I just pour like a madman. So
you do some good work for doing that, man. That's how I do it too. I pour agar probably once every 2 weeks, and it's not my favorite chore to do.
Right.
You gotta get it just right, man. Just right. If you wait 5 more seconds, you got chunks of solidified agar in there. If you don't wait 5 seconds, it's too hot. You gotta burn yours. It's tough, man. So I definitely applaud you for your plates. And you got
thank you, sir. Appreciate
applause
it.
from me.
And
it's
Matt,
it's tough.
I would argue that even your formula is kind of an artistry in and of itself, because I mean, I'm not going to give any details away, obviously, but you're constantly, I'm adjusting this and I'm going to test this out and I'm going to try this. Every time I talk to you, you're trying something new and trying to do something that other people aren't doing. You know what I mean? So that's kind of art in itself.
And that's a science. Yeah. It's science and an art.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And keep it fresh, and like the recipe itself, that's definitely a scientific method. Like, and I need to actually go into that and make a video to show people how to do it themselves. But
yeah, people.
Originally I went through, I would say probably 40 or 50 recipes. Now they're not different recipes. There's only 4 or 5 different recipes, but each one is different increments, and just kept data sets. It really, it's rudimentary science. It really was not like I went overboard to me. I guess looking back at it probably was, because I haven't done it for 3 years. But, I found a good half dozen recipes. I dialed them all in, and it was interesting to see. Even now, I talk to folks and get good feedback. What was it? Wood lovers. So I need to do some testing with wood lovers on my recipe, because I was told that it did some interesting growth patterns. So more tests to come, right?
Yeah, that's a scientific method for sure, man. Different species require different ingredients and different nutrition. Yeah, it's definitely some sort of science.
Yeah.
That not a lot of people have captured yet.
Right. Yeah, Andrew here does some pretty good paintings. They kind of remind me of when I'm on mushrooms. They look awesome.
Yeah.
Where could I see some of those?
I actually don't have any up right now.
Do you have like an Instagram or something like that?
I don't have any up right now. I can show you guys one. I can go grab one, but
yeah, if it no hassle, bro, no hassle.
Word.
They're pretty cool. I've seen some folks that do similar works, but there's just something about I don't know what do you call that? Is it like we'd have called it a collage a long time ago, but it's like a collage of colors. I don't.
Yeah, it's an acrylic pour method that I use, but I go to the extra effort of separating out each paint color's density, so you can layer them incredibly effectively. And cool. It took a while to play with as well. I didn't show anybody anything for about a year.
Yeah, I'm not knowing if it was as pretty to them as it might be to you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think now, I still haven't sent you one, have I, Matt?
No, this is the wall, in fact, right here. This is your wall.
Hints.
Oh, hold on 1 second, guys.
One day. Yeah, we'll keep it
Let's
going.
Edit this out, but I've been attacked.
Oh, there you go. Man. I don't know. I think people will want to see the cute little.
Matt, how long have you guys known each other?
Oh gosh, at least a year, maybe maybe a little more. You
Yeah.
know, it's hard to tell in this
Awesome.
community. Everybody
Yeah.
says it's a year, and then I like go back and look at messages.
Yeah. Oh,
Hard to know
it's
with
2
Andrew because
years.
he's got a lot of aliases. We'll say. Me too, but all mine are like Matt or Tree Dig something. So mine are not
Yeah.
very creative aliases.
I hear. I've been using my personal Facebook profile the whole time I've been in the hobby. Might not be a smart thing, but that's what I did.
Well, you
Yeah.
know, I think it worked out okay. I think I have not seen
Yeah.
hardly anybody get hit up. You know, the only
Yeah.
people that
And,
I've seen reports on are people that were way out in front, like selling
Yeah,
LC
doing-
across the U.S., doing things that you would
Yeah.
be like, hey,
I
kind of what a narc would do.
and being
I'm gonna
open
go ahead
about
and
it
distance
too.
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in New Mexico, actually, we have this state law. It's state law. It's case law, but not many people know it. Back in the 90s, some dude, his like neighbor or someone got mad at him because they found out he was growing mushrooms, so they narked on him to the police. And a state judge ruled that as long, and this is a quote, by the way, as long as the mushrooms are in their natural state of mushroomness, it's legal. You know, it doesn't matter.
As
So
long
that
as growing, basically.
as long as they're fresh, as long as they're in a tub fresh, you know, the second that they're dried, that's when it becomes a felony in New Mexico. But we're like one of the only states that has such a weird case law, and I don't know why or how
It's
really
a hard
it happened.
line, dude.
It's weird, yeah, it's really weird. But you know, it gives me a little bit of comfort, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny.
That kind of makes me think of Georgia's situation with marijuana because, like, for instance, in my town, 60 people were arrested for an eighth.
Wow.
But
for one single eighth between 60 people?
Yes. Nobody would claim it, so they took everybody.
Wow.
But then you drive an hour into Atlanta, and it's a $75 fine.
Huh. So did Atlanta, the city, did they like decriminalize it? Wow.
They didn't completely decriminalize it, but it's just a fine now. Like you don't get arrested. You can get in more trouble committing traffic violations.
Wow. That's crazy, man. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, maybe they'll catch
Georgia
up to the
and
times.
California, right? Those are the last two. Well, no, there's another one too. Wasn't there a third one?
Yeah.
The no mail states.
Idaho.
Yeah.
Idaho.
That's right. Idaho as well.
But interestingly, that's why I've into agar, not spores and stuff like that.
Smart.
I knew early on that I wanted to have a legal business that I could just push, you know, and because I'm not very good at being quiet.
Understandable. That's for dang sure. And agar, there's always going to be, you know, somewhat of a need because you don't have to be into mushrooms to use agar. You could do it for a science experiment. Like my sister used agar for a science experiment last year. You know, doorknobs and stuff like that. There's a lot of different uses for culturing a bunch of different stuff. You know, agar.
You can actually clone seeds and
you could sprout.
You can germinate seeds, or
you can germinate
clone any sort of living plant material in them.
Yeah,
and create a genetic clone from one plant cell. So
it's pretty cool.
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's like our version of water. Those little one milliliter water vials, you know, where we can store our mycelium indefinitely now. Same thing with the plant material. You can put it in this hormonal agar mixture, a soft. You know, we would call it agar, or they would call it agar, but we would call it like a slurry. It's not solid. You can inject. You can put your little needle point down in there and inject your point in there. I've been asked numerous times to do it, and I haven't done it. I probably should because you can charge way more.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to try. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm a big cactus fiend too. That's another hobby of mine is cactus, and I'm part of this group where this one dude, I forget his name. I think it's Juan or something like that, Hoon or something like. But he uses agar, and I got one question, just real quick: is it agar or agar? Does it
Yeah,
matter?
you know what? I actually made a video on this. So I
Did
actually
you?
looked up like 3 people that I would assume would be like they've got it right. These are
Uh-huh.
like English professors. And
Uh-huh.
I heard agar, auger,
Agar.
agar, and like, it's just basically what I came to the conclusion is it doesn't matter. Everybody
Okay,
knows what we're
that's good to
saying.
know. Yeah,
So there is no
I
correct
think I
answer.
say agar. That's usually what I would say, agar. But yeah, I see that cactus do, transfer and cloning cactus seedlings into agar all the time. So that's made me think that maybe I should try that too, because agar it's just very useful, man. Agar is
Yeah.
it's a wonderful medium, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
really
good
cool.
way to suspend nutrients
Yeah, yeah.
in a layer, without having it be just some random soil. You can
Mm-hmm.
really specify what you have in there.
Mm-hmm.
You can have
Sterile.
antimicrobial things in
Mm-hmm.
there so that whatever's on or in the plant material doesn't survive, or in the case of fungus, it might eliminate contamination. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. It'd be nice to know.
That's
Maybe you
amazing.
can do the same method,
Yeah.
inject your mycelium slightly below the surface, and when the mycelium escapes, it will only be mycelium, because the same way like you would do a cabin sequestration on water agar. Same concept, Who knows?
Yeah, possibilities are endless. You never know. Yeah, that's awesome.
So what about the cacti? What do you know? What's your expert level on that?
No, I wouldn't say I got probably 150 cactus though. I
Yeah,
went
just
overboard,
because
man.
they grow in your yard, or
I keep some of them inside. I keep some of them outside. I have to bring them all because I live in when the wintertime it gets -10 sometimes,
oh
and
yeah,
yeah, I live in like a valley, like a devil's armpit valley. So in the winter when it gets cold, it gets cold. So I have to bring
oh
them
yeah.
all inside. But I started during quarantine. I San Pedro. You probably heard of San Pedro
Yeah.
and the psychoactive cactus. I got them to try. I've never tried mescaline or anything like that. But once I got them and started growing them and like getting attached to them, I can't. I just can't do it. So I grow them as a hobby as well. I
Yeah.
check on them every day. I try to trade and sell some when I can, because some cactus are hyped up clones and it could be worth a lot. I'm not sure if you guys know much about the cactus market
Uh-uh.
and yeah, some of them are. I remember
I don't.
last year I seen a cactus go for $1,000 for like a foot of a funky looking cactus. It was $1,000 straight up, and it blew my mind. I cut you off, Andrew. What were you going to say?
I was gonna say I haven't seen the cactus market, but I'm right now getting into the carnivorous plant market, and I imagine there's some,
Probably, yeah, probably. I've seen some of I don't know what they call them, the bell buckets or something like that.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's a whole lot of species.
Yeah, those ones are really cool. I would love to get one, but I think it's too dry and
We
around
have
where I
some.
live, at least.
We have some native here, actually, in Georgia.
Really? Wow,
Yeah,
that's cool, man.
yeah,
Yeah. I'd like to see some in the wild one time. Maybe. I know they live in Florida too, right? Probably.
yeah. I got to go a little bit further south because I'm in
Yeah.
northern Georgia. So you got to get down closer to the Okefenokee, is what it's called.
Humid times over there.
Yeah,
that's
man.
funny. They're pitcher plants is what we have here.
Pitcher
There's
plants. I think that's what I'm
That's
a
thinking
couple
of.
of them, but they're also to my south. We went down one year to go bear hunting in a place by the coast, and there was a fire that went through, and like everything was gone. All you could see though was like this red look, like this canyon in the middle of it. It's just red. And you're like, what the hell? So we drove all the way down there through all this nasty crap. Get down there, and it's hundreds and hundreds of these orange and yellowish, orange and red pitcher plants that are all about 2 or 3 feet tall. And the water had consolidated into this little valley where there probably was a swamp before. But boy, I mean, I didn't even know they existed here, and it
That's
was
awesome.
beautiful.
And you're in Oregon, Matt, right? Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
awesome.
just south of Salem, so right in the
One
middle
day I
of
would
Oregon on the west.
love to visit the Pacific Northwest now. One day, that's
Definitely.
probably the place I want to go right now. Where the number one in the countries. Oregon, Washington. I would love to visit one day. It seems like
Well, there's a
beautiful.
lot of diversity here. Like where
Yeah.
I'm at today, I'm actually in what we call Central Oregon. But if you looked on the map, we'd still be in the western half. We're just on the eastern half of the mountains, and so it's right where you have this mountainous forest meeting this high desert, and so it's this really cool place. Like here, you've got sandy loam everywhere, so it's kind of desert-like, but there's hundreds of lakes. So it's also really
Awesome.
wet and lots of mushrooms and lots of.
Awesome.
Well, there's no smoke today, but there has been smoke from the forest fires for the last
Ooh, you guys
2 or
are
3
you guys
weeks.
getting fires over there?
Oh yeah, yeah. If you
Oh,
were to
I didn't
look
know
at
that.
like a satellite view of the U.S., it would look like the Ring of Fire is spewing
Oof.
volcano because there's fires everywhere in the Cascades, and you know
Wow.
it's ridiculous. I mean,
I didn't
it's
know
bad.
that. Well, I'm praying for you guys because I know
Yeah, we're
fires are
used to it.
no
Unfortunately,
joke.
every
Yeah.
year we get about 8 to 10, and this year we probably got about 20. So
Oh my goodness. When we get a fire around here, that gets out of control, it's crazy. Like people, as everything everybody talks about. Why the
yeah,
hell were they planning a controlled burn? Everyone blames the forest all the time. The Forest Service. So
right.
I'm praying. I'm
Well,
wishing
interesting.
better days.
The Forest Service is to blame, but not in the way you think.
Hmm.
It's because we stopped cutting in the forest. We stopped
Okay.
going through and thinning for financial gain for the forestry department and for all these other folks.
Oh.
Well, when they would
Huh.
go in and do that, they would thin the underbrush.
Like they
And
should.
so, like, prior to us being here, prior
Hmm.
to us settling this area, period, there would be regular fires, but they would rip through an area because there was very little undergrowth. It would happen,
Hmm.
every 1 to 4 years, and you'd think the whole state was on fire. But the natives actually, they did fires too. They planned
Wow.
the fires to clear the brush similar to how we do
Yeah.
control burns. I think that's
Yeah.
probably where we learned it here.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's.
but you will go into places like, I mean, you can probably even look behind me and just see the proximity of these trees where they're
Hmm.
a foot apart.
Close.
If we
Yeah.
weren't
Close.
in here trampling this stuff down, there would be 6 feet of undergrowth, 6 to 10 feet of undergrowth packed in
Yeah.
between all of those. And, it's a tinderbox. And so
Yeah.
now we're playing this game of catch up where we're fighting the fires, but they're not actually fighting them. What they're really doing is they're just trying to control where they go and wait until winter for winter to put them out. And
Hmm.
eventually we'll get back to square one where we don't have that problem in the undergrowth anymore and the
Hmm.
forests will burn quickly and we'll go in and pick our morels and it'll be all
Yeah.
hunky dory.
How it should be, man. How it should be. Well, hopefully
Exactly.
sooner than later.
But I think there's a lot that comes from the destruction. You think that it's all bad, but I've hunted my entire life, and I can tell you right now, if you go into a burnt area, you will see more wildlife than you have ever seen anywhere else
Yeah.
because the nutritional value of everything in that area is 10 times, 30 times. And when the rain hits, there's no upper layer of stuff for it to get caught in. It goes
Yeah.
straight to
It
the
goes
roots.
straight, and then
Even
new
these
growth shoots up.
little tiny huckleberry plants, 6 inches tall, they will produce 20 or 30 berries each. And each one of those berries will taste better than 4 or 5 off of a big bush. And
Wow.
it's just really interesting to see, and it makes you think that nature has a plan. We have
Yeah.
no idea how it interacts, or we have limited idea.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
It's
happens
always a
naturally.
wonder.
Forest fires do happen naturally, and
Oh yeah.
it's for a good
Well,
reason. I
and
understand.
you got those guys out there riding dirt bikes and starting
Yeah.
campfires when they shouldn't too. So
Yeah.
can't
And
say
then they
it's
leave
all
them when they're
natural here.
drunk, and yeah, it
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, I
It
got my fire
happens.
extinguisher here. Like you'll see if we have a fire here at all. I don't know that we're allowed to, but if we do, there's always a fire extinguisher there.
Yeah. Good. Responsible, that's for sure. That's how it should be.
Yeah,
Definitely.
try to be. You know,
Yeah, as much
I
as you
got a
can.
trailer, so I don't need a fire. I just kick on the,
Yeah, I
the
see
propane cooker.
your picture, man. That's a nice spot you got there, dude.
Thank
Nice
you.
spot. Yeah,
I
enjoy it.
lucked
Enjoy
out.
it for the
The
week.
weather and the smoke, they made it so nobody wanted to be here. So
Yeah.
like it's just clearing up today, and it's going to be like 70 to 80 all week. Yeah, like that's perfect for me. I'm gonna go
Yeah,
camping.
that's perfect. All right. Rock on, man. Are you going hunting this week or something like that?
No, this is just
No.
fun. Labor Day, last chance of the year to
Oh,
get
that's
out.
right. Labor Day is this
My
weekend, isn't it?
two brothers are here in Lapine, where I'm at, and so it's easier for me to get over here with my job being kind of mobile. I can pour a bunch of plates, put them in the back here, and then box them up and take them into town, and then go visit my nieces and nephews. I got 6 of them here, 3 of each. So,
Awesome. That sounds like a good life you're living right now.
trying to, man, trying to. What do they call it? Fake it till you make it.
Yep, something like that. I know that pretty well.
I'm broke
Definitely.
until the joke hits.
Yep. That's funny.
Oh goodness. So, Taylor, one thing we're gonna have to ask: what's your favorite family that you've written into your book? Because there's so many.
What do you
Like,
mean by family? Like TAT and
Like, say, what's your favorite isolation from true albino Melmac? Like,
Ooh.
what's your favorite
Let's look through real
source
quick.
strain? That'll be a good one. What's your favorite source strain then?
That's a tough one, man.
Yeah.
Source stream, my favorite family stream. Well, Melmac is a good one. Just straight Melmac. I love Melmac OG. All you can't go wrong with the cross with Melmac in it. Like
Right.
MVP. Have you got MVP?
Oh yeah.
One of my all-time faves. I
Beautiful.
love. Dave did a great job on that one. MVP's a great. That I've never had a tub give me 8 flushes before, like good flushes too. And MVP is giving me 8 solid flushes. It's crazy. Let me see the other one.
Yeah, I
Maria
wonder,
Sabina's a
like
favorite.
Homestead. Did you ever like? I know that we don't really know where that was. I mean, or where it ended up, but I think a lot of people theorize that it is the Mac. At least it sure looks
Yeah,
like.
yeah. It's sticky too, because a lot of people call it Homestead Penis Envy, like HPE, and then a lot of people get that confused with like OG Penis Envy from the McKenna Penis Envy. So it's real confusing, and the Homestead dude's name is Alf, from what I know at least is Alf. Yeah, let me get to my Melmac page real quick. See what I
How about
said.
you, Andrew? Do you have one that you have in mind?
Well,
what is it?
for me, it's kind of a spectator sport right now, but I do also like MVP a good bit, especially the thrills. One I've been following I really like lately is Fungi Frequency's Natal Moon, and it's gorgeous.
Jeff, he's a good dude, man. I like Fungi Frequency a lot. Yeah, he's
I just
helped me
tried
out a
some of
lot
those
too.
the other day.
Oh,
Those
really?
Nattles. Yeah, I don't remember who sent them to me, but I didn't have enough. I should have had more.
I've heard they're a little weak. I've never tried them, but I've heard they're a little bit weak.
Maybe that's why. You don't follow up ape with a watered down drink.
Yeah. Oh, and I gotta give a shout out to the Gates, from James Cruz. His Gates, he did good work on his whole isolations. They're different. They look good. They perform well. He did very well on those, so they're a favorite of mine. Let's go with I'll give you one more that I really like. Let's go with I'll probably go with Dave's albino Hualta, or I don't know how to properly say it. The whole
I had to look it up too.
Hualta or Hualta.
What did we figure out? Because didn't you ask me the same thing, Andrew? And then I don't know. I looked it up, but I can't remember.
It's Wauta, I believe is the correct way to say it.
I'm not sure, but the whole line, what the fuck and the flowers and Maria Sabina, he did great with that too. They all look great. They all perform great. There's just a lot to choose from, man. But those like 3 or 4 I gave you are some of my faves, for sure.
Awesome.
Those are good ones too.
Yeah, there's some good ones, man. There's a lot more though. There's a lot.
It's a never-ending story.
I know. I love it. I love it, and I hate it at the same time. It gives me anxiety, but it makes me feel all fuzzy inside too.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it may be a never-ending story, but our podcast is not. So we're at about our 1 hour mark. I
That's
think we'll
true.
go ahead and tidy up. It's been really great.
Okay.
I think we didn't have too much dead space here, and
Yeah,
we even
thank you
got
guys,
to see
man.
a kitten. I mean,
It's been
who
an
gets to
honor.
see a
Here,
kitten?
let me hold on. Let me show you guys him real quick. Just real
Yeah.
quick.
And any of your sources, anywhere people can find you, definitely give us those. And
Here's little
oh
false
yeah,
big boy.
oh that's a fluffy tiger,
Mwah. Yeah, he's good. I got him from the shelter in 2017. He's been a pain in my ass ever since.
right?
Yeah,
The kind you love.
yeah, kind I love. You can Facebook Taylor Yates. You could always reach out to me. I have a store on Spore Swaps named Tasty Spores. I know Spore Swaps gets a little bit of a bad name from some people, but we're some solid people,
Yeah.
man. I've talked to every single person. Solid people.
Definitely.
So
That's where I
if you've
started,
heard bad things,
you know?
yeah, if you've heard bad things about Spore Swaps, give us another try. I know we've
I
got a
think
lot
people
of
that
bad
hear
about.
bad stuff are people that didn't like Sherry. And Sherry, she's just really good at what she does, and like she keeps people in
Sherry,
line. And some people don't like that. You know, if
man, I
you're
could talk
stepping
about
out of
Sherry for
line,
30 minutes. Yeah, Sherry is one of the most. She's a hard ass, but man, I got a lot of respect for that woman. She's done a whole lot. She's sticking up for herself, or sticking up for everybody. A lot of respect for Sherry. She's done a
oh,
great
yeah.
job, man. Great job. I will defend Sherry until my dying breath, probably.
Yep.
But that's about it, man. Spore Swaps, Tasty Spores, Taylor Yates on Facebook, and I appreciate you guys having me, dude. It's been a lot of fun. Andrew,
Yeah.
nice to meet you, man. Matt, you too, man. Nice to meet you guys.
All right, gentlemen, it's been a good one. Have a
Yeah.
nice day, and don't forget, we'll stay on the line here.
Peace, much love.